Salutations, everybody! Alright, so there's about roughly 9 days left, and you might be thinking to yourself, should I sign up for Albedo? Because if you're not like me and you don't have disposable income to throw at the game, which is to say, it's probably a lot of you guys. I'm not calling you broke, I'm just saying you have better things to spend your money on, I understand. I'm going to kind of give you a rundown of what you should and shouldn't, the things you should think about if you're going to summon for him. First off, Albedo is a character, he isn't meant to wait. So let's go ahead and find some examples. So if Albedo as a character isn't quite meant to be your DPS, while he can do immense amounts of damage if you pump defense into him, he's better serving as a support. Overall, I would say that Albedo works best when he has a strong DPS or if he has Zhongli with him. So if you didn't pull a Zhongli, you should definitely keep that in mind before you press the button to summon for Albedo, or even to summon on his banner. Because there are a few things you need to consider when you're summoning on the banner. The other thing about Albedo is that, being that he's a Geo character, he isn't really meant to be the DPS of any team. While he can do heavy amounts of damage, he isn't meant to do all the damage. He's meant to be a supporting cast character, just like Zhongli is. That's just what the Geo element is at this current moment in time. While there are certain characters who are meant to do burst damage, I'm looking at you, Ningguang. Almost every Geo character currently is meant to serve as a support, both providing shields and damage over time, or even protections over time. Now, the thing about Albedo is that the reason I said that you most likely need Zhongli if you want to use him effectively is because his flower counts as a... Holy crap. His flower counts as a Geo construct, which means that whenever you use that flower, right next to Zhongli's ability, it's going to be constantly pulsing. And since it's constantly pulsing, that means it is constantly having its AoE detonations. Now, do you absolutely need it? Personally, that's just how I really like it. But if you didn't get Zhongli, that's not to say that you can't have Albedo. You just need different pieces to use Albedo properly. Another major thing, so let's say that you haven't been pulling multiple 5 stars. It is possible to utilize Albedo effectively without them. However, one thing I would recommend if you are going to use units other than, well, Albedo, you're going to either need units that will help pull into the core, like Sucrose, who happens to be on the Albedo banner, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. You either need to have units who are going to focus on doing AoE damage, or you need to have units who do sustained damage. So having someone like Chongyun who buffs his own attacks and changes them to Cyro, that's effective because not only are you constantly getting shields for attacking now, you're also getting you're also doing a sustained amount of damage over time. However, if you have a character who has an AoE ultimate that is a long-lasting ability, such as Diona. I believe Bennett applies fire. I don't know. I actually don't have a Bennett crazy, right? Characters like Diona, characters like Bennett, characters who have AoE ults that last for a while that apply an effect, those are also really strong with Albedo because now that his blooms are blossoming, he'll provide shields for your whole team. That is to say that you need a unit with AoE ultimates that actually applies an element. You can't get a shield from Wind, so Sucrose can't carry Albedo by herself, but she sure can help. Now the thing is, the other thing about Albedo is that all his abilities basically scale off of his defense, so the more defense you have, the more damage you're doing. That is to say that Albedo would serve as a serviceable tank if you need one for your team. Not only will he be providing shields for your team, but he would also be just the actual tank for the team. And the AoE damage that he's doing passively is applying to all the enemies around. That's based off of his defense, and he's doing all this from the back line. When he's on the front line, that's not to say that he can't do damage, you just need to know what you're building. So, on Albedo, I'd recommend getting as many of the defender set as possible. Well, good pieces of defender set. If you have to compromise for something else, then definitely aim for something along the lines of, damn, what's it called? It's slipping my mind. You could also aim for the one that gives you additional damage, or not additional damage. I believe it's additional elemental mastery. Or no, every time you do an elemental burst, it heals you, which I believe is Traveling Doctor. So if you aim for Traveling Doctor, you can have an Albedo who's constantly getting elemental burst off, and then he's constantly healing himself. That's something you could aim for with your Albedo. Now, another thing you could do with your Albedo is give him the new event weapon. Being that the new event weapon increases the amount of damage you're doing off of your elemental attacks, why not give it to Albedo? Again, it's still applying while the character's on the side, so you might as well just be using it. Take the most advantage of it. However, that's for another video. I'll explain some of the drawbacks to Albedo in another video, because if I'm being completely honest with everybody here, he's not all positives. As much as I love the character, he's not all positives at all. He just couldn't be, and that's mainly because he's a Geo. As much as I love the element, Geos are not meant to be any of the best units in the game, and they won't be for who knows how long. But back on the topic, having Albedo, you should definitely aim to again have any units that can focus AoE damage into one area, aka Sucrose. If you don't have Sucrose, then odds are you don't want Albedo. But considering that she's on Albedo's banner, it shouldn't be very hard to get her, unless you're like me and you pull several officials instead of anybody you actually want. Until you go off camera, in which case you pull an Albedo and a Keyqueen. But that's off topic. Overall, I would say that Albedo is a really cool character. He definitely possesses one of my more light Geo kits right after Zhongli. Surprise, surprise, the 5-star units are actually good. But between him and Zhongli, I would definitely say that Zhongli is still better, just because Zhongli, while he's sort of a constellation trap, Zhongli definitely empowers any Geo. So if you're running 2 Geos, then, like, let's say you're running Geo Traveler and Zhongli. Wait, this video isn't about Zhongli. Shut up, idiot. I guess if there's some things that you should aim to take away from this video, it should be that Albedo is not the DPS Geo you're looking for. If he's your first 5-star, you probably do not want him. Simply because, again, as a solo unit, I wouldn't say he's the strongest. He's definitely not the strongest 5-star in the game. I can't say that when I have Keyqueen, who's usually carries the damage load. Unfortunately, in this particular area, she's kind of useless. But between Albedo and Zhongli, you now have both a heavy amount of AoE damage, and you're also getting a heavy amount of CC. So that's why I would say you shouldn't summon for him unless you have Zhongli. Do you absolutely need Zhongli for Albedo to be useful? No. But for Albedo to have maximized potential on your team, you definitely want a Zhongli. If you don't have Zhongli, then I'm going to be honest, you're going to want to save it. And I'll explain why you won't want to run just Albedo by himself. I'll explain that in another video, but more of the pluses of Albedo is, let's see, I've already mentioned that he does all this damage. Not all this damage, he does a lot of AoE damage. That's honestly his strongest trait. He's going to be doing some of the most of the AoE damage in the game. I think a close second would probably be Diluc, but well, that's Diluc. Like he wasn't meant to be competed with in this game. There's a reason Genshin's $1 million game now. But another plus, because we're kind of wrapping up at this point, but another plus would be Albedo will definitely be able to serve as your tank. If you don't have a tank for your team, Albedo will definitely get the job done for you. If you do have a tank for the team, Albedo would definitely be a good second tank to have. Just as a passive tank, or not even a passive tank, just as passive damage, and if you needed an actual tank, because like I said, his ability scales off of his defense. while Zhongli's ability, mainly his ult, will scale off of his health. So those are just some things to take into account. But I'm about done talking everybody's ears off. Maybe you do summon for Albedo. I'll tell you what. When Ganyu comes out, whatever the hell her name is, Coco Goat Milf, that one, when she comes out, I'll definitely make a video similar to this one. If I pull her, if I manage to pull her, I'll definitely make a video to it. I'm never gonna make these videos just based off of the trial that they give you because it's not enough information. And cut! I love it. I love it. Good job, me.